Welcome to Those Two Chicks with a Podcast. My name is Emma Grace, and today, I can't even look at you right now. Oh my God.
I'm not Jordan.
No, it's not Jordan. So we have a Mary moment today with my mother, Mary. Say hi, Mom.
Hello.
What was that?
That was Mother Mary.
She's a little sleep deprived. So
I'm very sleep deprived.
this would be a rough episode. But yes, we are missing Jordan today because she is dealing with some shit. Literally, her sump pump broke the other day. But it is fixed. Everything's done. But she just had a lot going on and just can't really get a break recently. So I decided, you know what? Let me give you a break. I'll call my mom in and we'll read your stories for her. How are you doing?
I'm so tired. I tried to practice reading, but my eyeballs feel like they're bleeding.
Oh.
And because I've had a lot of reading over the weekend, and It was a very busy weekend. And so I'm going to do my best to be better than Jordan. Don't say shit in front of your mother.
Sorry.
All right. That's okay. But yes, it was appropriate because it was their septic that backed up, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's some pump.
Oh, jeez.
And the they just renovated everything too.
Yeah.
And that was in there.
Oh, sorry. Mm-hmm. Better you than me, though. So yeah, I'm here, and I'm so happy and excited and tired.
Great. Do you think you're gonna do a good job?
Oh, heck no.
Oh, okay. Well, at least you're honest. All right, so
I'll try.
Today we're going to be talking about past lives, and particularly, what are you doing, Mary? Are you drinking coffee?
I'm trying.
All right, go drink your coffee.
You can't have a cup of coffee without going, ah.
Oh, okay.
It's just mandatory.
Right. So we're talking about past lives today, and most like kids' past lives. I'm going to talk about some facts about why they're most common. But what do you think about it? What's your opinions? Just...
Reincarnation?
Yeah.
Well,
wow.
If I was alert, yeah, I don't know, because you were kind of a scary kid. And
thanks, Mom. You
were, because you talked to people that weren't there. You had conversations, and we said this on the other Mary moment that we had. I often wonder, you know, because you get those moments of deja vu, like, hey, I've been here before. And then I know, because I love the Native American culture, I know a lot of them feel that their culture's beliefs in reincarnation from past life. But I don't know. I guess I didn't know about it, and I didn't get enough heads up from those two chicks.
She found out yesterday. That's how great my mom is. She dropped everything and was like, sure.
Yeah, on my day off.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to wake up early, and I took a Tylenol PM to help me sleep because I've been so sleep deprived. Now I can't wake up. But I read my notes from Miss Emma, my darling daughter, at about 10:30, 11 o'clock last night when I saw that you sent them. And I read them on my...
8.
Well, yeah, but it was a merry moment, and I was knitting. Hello. I have priorities. I have a life.
Whoa.
What?
Priorities. How are my earrings going, Mom?
Oh, you just stop.
No, how are my earrings?
Well, in your next life, you might get them. Oh. How's that? No, actually, I just found them. Because, I found them a while ago. And then at Easter time, when somebody demanded at 23, is that how old you are?
Yeah.
23, almost 24 years old, she had to have an Easter basket.
Well, duh.
Yeah. So I did find them in the bag. So I took them out. So now I do know where they are.
Okay.
So I just have to find my tools to make the jewelry.
Quick backstory. My mom's really crafty. Like, she can do almost everything.
Mary Moments Creations.
Yeah, she has a business. But she's very creative, very crafty, just a fantastic artist. But I asked her to make me earrings because that's something that my mom can easily do. In return, I was like, well, I'll buy you some lunch. So we went out to lunch together, had a little mother-daughter date, and months. It's been months, Mom, and no earrings. But she has made so many, other crafts for people, and she keeps on posting on her Facebook, oh, look, I just made this scarf for somebody. Oh, I made a hat for somebody. I'm thinking, that's great, but where are my earrings that you promised me so long ago? And I'm still earringless, Mom.
Well, you are the third child.
I know.
Third child syndrome always gets left behind. No, I will get them to you.
Oh, okay.
I will. No.
All right. So what would you say? Are you indifferent with reincarnation? Do you believe in it, or?
I hope that I come back as a willow tree.
I'm sorry.
I always thought that. Well, when I die, I don't want to be buried in a cemetery, and I don't want a headstone because who the hell's going to want to maintain that?
Not me.
Not any of my kids. And, it's just like, if you're going to remember me, you can do it at any time, at any place, and I don't need a headstone to say I lived and died because really outside my family, who cares? But I do, and now it's going to be on air live as proof. When I die, you can donate any organs that aren't, junk that somebody could use. I don't know how healthy my organs are. But if they're valuable, you could do that. But I also would like to be cremated and then planted in with a tree.
Okay.
And soil. And I wanted to come back as a willow tree. But if willows don't grow in our area, just, and then over the weekend, because we were camping, I noticed in the state park, they have trees that are being planted in memory of people. So, because you kids are in your own little communities, pick a state park and plant me a tree there. Okay. With a little bit of Mary in each one. And then my Mary moments would be spread throughout the world.
Oh, okay.
I'd like that.
Yeah. Tombstones are also just expensive. They really...
What are?
Tombstones.
Oh, well, headstones are, and... The funeral in general, the whole big visitation thing, I don't care about that either.
Okay.
I won't even know.
Right.
Well, I might know. I don't know.
I don't know.
I
can't tell you. I've never died before.
If you want to have a backyard. I liked when we did the remembrance for Aunt Debbie. And we had all the tents in the backyard, and we went to their house, and it was gathering of all the family and...
Yeah, no, that was really nice. It was more like a family reunion, but it was nice just to get together.
Yes, and I would like that. And if you have options, what do you want to do? I definitely want a tree planted in my memory so you can see it grow and bloom every year and think of me. Or if you don't think of me, I could get really close to your house. My branches could scratch on your windows if you're my mom was just a loony. Okay. And then I would haunt you through the tree branches. Or maybe a nut tree. So that when you walked underneath it, and if you ever, said something bad about me that I did, do you remember when Mother did this? Then I could drop a nut on your head.
Mom, maybe it should be... have that. My apple tree hits me all the time.
Maybe it should be a coconut.
What?
Something really, really tacky. But no, and then I thought, well, if you have an option, if you're reincarnated, and there's an option, I would like to be a dog, too. Because, just to not have any care, sleep all day. And the world and what they observe, that's kind of interesting.
Well, unless you don't get a great family.
Right. Well, that's true. Oh, I would have to pick a good family. I wouldn't want to be abused because those commercials just break my heart.
I know. Oh. I don't know if you get a choice, though.
I know.
Yeah, I guess I've always been kind of interested in past lives and reincarnation in general because, who knows what happens when you die? I mean... we really don't know. You just go on fate, really. Depending on what you believe in.
Yeah,
that's what your
religious beliefs. Yeah,
but I just think it's interesting to learn about everything instead of just one religion. That's just how I personally like to look at life.
Agreed.
Just to learn as much as you can. But there's times where you said I always feel like I was possibly reincarnated, and you want to know why? Because of how much I love to sing and how quickly I picked it up at a young age. Not trying to toot my own horn.
Well, but how I was Dad always said.
Yeah, we don't talk about my father.
Oh, yes, bless his heart.
Yeah, my dad said I peaked at 13. It wasn't impressive after.
It was that little kid cuteness that, oh my God, listen to that little girl. And then she turned 13, and then she looked like an adult because she's very tall.
Yeah.
And then it was she's an adult that can really belt it out. Broadway
Thanks,
belt.
Mom.
You're welcome.
But I always felt like I picked up singing quickly.
You did. You memorize things very quickly.
Isn't that weird, though, for, a 2-year-old to have that much? Because there's, home videos of myself, and I was looking at, the timestamp, and I was 2. I was the same age as my nephew, and I was not singing, lyrics, but I had the tune, and it was on pitch, which I thought was pretty impressive.
And she had her own portable walking karaoke machine.
Because why not? But how attracted I was to the Shirley Temple Era. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what if my past life I was one of, like, around that time? I'm not saying I'm Shirley Temple because Shirley Temple was alive when I was alive. So that wouldn't really make sense.
Right.
But you know what I mean? Like, what if I was a past life that picked up something? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah, because very young, you really connected with that, and you used to do performances all the time.
Well, yeah, and like dances, and I had that.
And play radio.
Down.
Remember when you played radio?
Mom, don't talk about playing radio. All right, so we're just going to get into some facts about reincarnation, and then we'll go on our stories that we have about some children's past lives.
Okay, I need another sip of coffee. And don't yell at me.
Why do you have to go ah?
I don't know. It's a after every sip. It's a must. Go ahead and tell me what your facts.
So, before I start, though, these facts are not made by me.
These are alternative facts, so they're not true.
No.
Okay.
This is from Jordan's research. I'm just reading it off
okay.
for her because that was her. She was going to do like some facts about it and then read her story. So I split it up so you wouldn't have to read the facts and your story.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so I took it on for you. And I haven't read through this yet, so this might be a little rough because I like to read before. 33% of Americans believe in reincarnation.
How many? I wasn't listening.
Really, Mom?
I started reading.
Stop it.
Okay, I'm going to listen.
33% of Americans believe in reincarnation, which is a lot more than I thought, actually. Mm-hmm. And it's not a lot. Like, but think of America. That's a lot more than I thought. For it to be in a mostly... Why are you saying too much, Mom? Because mostly we are a Christian-based community that doesn't believe in that. So, why are you laughing?
Because you told me not to say so much, and I just said Sorry. No, I'll watch my and ahs and ahs and... That was Emma for the record.
I am a
Okay.
All right. There are a ton of reality TV shows. People are just fascinated by it. And it could be the fact that people find comfort in thinking they have a chance again, even after death, to do better. Were you paying attention to that, Mary, or were you reading again? Because you look a little lost. Okay, I looked at you and you're like,
I'm not going to lie. 33% is what I heard. Mm-hmm. And I forgot the rest.
Okay, well, don't worry about it, Mom. Okay. You know what? You can hear it when you listen to the episode.
I listen to it, yes.
Oh, that's what she said to me.
What was the last line you said?
People are fascinated by it, and it could be the fact that people find comfort in thinking they have a chance again, even after death, to do better.
Yeah, okay.
I think that is like something that you're like, well, you know, your life's not over. It's just going to be a different life and a new one. And It said that children who have been interviewed, they seem to start having these memories at about 1 or 2. And then they lose these memories around 6 or 7, when most kids start to lose their early childhood memories. That's when you find a lot of these kids that remember their past lives. And as you get older, you start losing them when you lose the rest of your childhood memories, because obviously, you know, like there's things that you don't remember at a young... I don't remember everything I did when I was 2. Or, you know, you see these home videos and that's when you kind of relive these things. But I don't remember any of it.
I do.
You do remember?
I do. Because
maybe
we moved
reincarnated, Mom.
Maybe, because we moved to Allegan when I was 5 years old. But I can remember the house we lived on. The kind of road was like a Q. So you came in and it was a complete circle. And then we were the first one on the left-hand side. I can remember across the street, there was a tree that had a sagging down branch. Remember when I tell you about the moss?
Yeah.
Was the carpet for our Barbies. And there was a tree branch we used to pretend was a horse. And then my dad had a race car that he used to drive, and it was parked across the street. And I can remember the house, what it looked like. I can remember standing on the front steps with a flowered soup case. They were very popular in those days. And I was waiting for Peter Pan to come pick me up. I can remember the details of the house and how the house was set up.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how old were you?
Well, I was born there.
Oh, okay.
In Skoda. And so it would have been from birth until 5.
Right, and you still remember that.
And I still remember those memories. I don't recall seeing any of the pictures of that time. I'll have to check with Grandma.
Yeah.
Because I don't really, there's a few shots that I remember because we lived in a couple different places, and I remember seeing pictures distinctly, but that was when we were on the Air Force Base in a trailer. Those are the pictures I remember seeing, but I don't remember seeing pictures of us in that house.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
here are some signs that Jordan found to see if you lived in a past life or not. Like, there's some common ones, right?
Okay.
So this one might seem kind of obvious, but you have persistent memories in a different era. Now, when she says memories, it's more of a feeling that Dr. John McGrail might be his name. A clinical hypnotherapist who has been featured in Time, New York Daily News, and says that this characteristic is common among people who might have lived in past lives. He describes these feelings as persistent memories or intuitive feelings of being someone else, somewhere else at another time. According to him, this can be accompanied by a physical manifestation, like a birthmark, that when looked at invokes a memory. If you have a strong sense of deja vu. Mm-hmm. And I think we all had deja vu before, but it's just that feeling like, So unreasonable fears that do not make sense.
Oh, a frog could just flip me right out. Somebody was tortured with a frog in my past life. I don't know. You think so?
That's just you. Which we'll actually talk about more unreasonable fears in my story, actually. You get strange pains that can't be explained by a doctor. This could be an injury that you had in another past life, and your body is remembering. So also in this realm, strange anger issues, having a physical or emotional issue, it can be persistent or suddenly appear, a pain, a fear, phobia, etc., that has no discernible origin or cause from this lifetime. And many people, many people I have worked with have unexplained anger issues, nothing violent or abusive from childhood, and in their past life they were mean, violent people, warlords, dictators, etc. You identify with another culture or country. Sometimes when people will visit another country or area, especially one they've had a strange interest in, they will feel at peace and at home.
That's exactly how I feel. Every time I go out west, I feel a calming peace.
Inexplicable knowledge of things that you've never really been around or near, which you'll find in my story too is one of those things as well. And you have unexplained skills like child prodigies. Or are they baby geniuses, or did they naturally pick up the piano like a pro at 4 because they had this skill in their past life? And there's also been kids that have picked up another language instantly that they've never even heard before. Very interesting. I think we just talked ourselves into believing more into our past lives and being interested. Do you want to go first with your story?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Well, this is the story that I was sent apparently at 8:30, but I didn't read it until later in the evening.
Fair enough.
So if I mispronounce anything and I start giggling over... So this is about James Madison Leninger. I think is how you would say it. Leininger.
Sure.
He was born on 10 April of 1998.
So April 10th?
Yes, it's April 10th. I just found that funny. He was born in April 10th of 1998 in San Francisco to Bruce Leninger, a human resource executive, and Andrea Leninger, a resume writer, homemaker, and former professional dancer. The family moved shortly thereafter to Dallas, Texas, and then to Lafayette, Louisiana. James's expressions of past life memory manifested mostly between the ages of 2 and 5. Following the move to Lafayette, the combination of his detailed memories and the ability of the parents to verify them through painstaking research makes this a particularly interesting case, and it is one of the best known of its kind in Western world. When James was 22 months old, as reported by the parents, his father took him to James Cavanaugh Flight Museum in Dallas. There he was transfixed by the sight of the World War II planes, and at the end of the visit had to be forced to leave. Passing a toy shop when James was just shy of 2 years old, his mother noticed a display bin filled with plastic toys and boats. She pulled out a little propeller plane and handed it to James, adding, "Look, there's even a bomb underneath it." He said, "That's not a bomb, Mommy. That's a drop tank." Talking about this with her husband later, she learned that a drop tank is an extra fuel tank fitted to an aircraft to extend its range. Shortly after turning 2, James began having nightmares. Oh, that's so sad. As often as 5 times a week, in which he would scream and kick his legs in the air, crying, "Airplane crash, plane on fire, little man can't get out." At 28 months, in response to questions, he told his parents the little man was himself and that his plane had been shot down by Japanese. About 2 weeks later, he added more details. His name had been James. He had flown a Corsair, I think is how you say that. It's a type of plane. Sure. And he had flown from a boat whose name he gave as Natoma, which, despite sounding Japanese, he insisted was American. Over the next 3 months, James added that he had had a friend, a fellow pilot named Jack Larson, and that he had been shot down near Iwo Jima. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I'm not good with foreign names. I'm sorry. I can't learn Spanish either. I think it's a hearing issue I might have.
I don't know, Mom.
I don't know. I have difficulty, and I apologize if I cremated that, but it's spelled IWO, capital JIMA. Iwo Jima. Iwo Jima? Well, if you say it really fast, who's going to know if I'm right or wrong?
That's true.
Okay. So anyways, in play, James crashed his toy planes into furniture, breaking off the propellers. He also began expressing his memories in art, obsessively drawing naval aerial battles between Americans and Japanese, in which planes were burning and crashing, bullets and bombs exploding all around. These were always World War II scenes with the propeller-driven aircraft, not jets or missiles. He named the American aircraft correctly as Wildcats and Corsairs and referred to Japanese planes as Zeeks and Bettys, explaining that the boy's name referred to fighter planes and the girl's name to bombers, which was correct. He sometimes signed the drawings James 3, and when asked why, he said he was the third James, an apparent reference to him following James Houston Jr., that is, the second. When buckling himself into the back of the car, he would often mime putting on headgear, a movement that his mother recognized during a visit to local air show when he mounted the cockpit of a Piper Cub and put on the pilot's headgear. Bruce Leninger was uncomfortable with the idea of reincarnation and began to research his son's statements in the firm hope of ruling it out. He was already aware that the Corsair was an American World War II era plane. Searching the internet, he discovered that the USS Natoma Bay was an aircraft carrier that served in the Pacific in World War II and was part of the Iwo Jima operation. Also, that a pilot named Jack Larson had been based on the ship. He then began to approach Natoma Bay veterans who proved forthcoming. An initial candidate for James's memory, Jack Larson, turned out, however, not to have been killed in action. Attention then shifted to James McReady Houston, Jr. of Pennsylvania, who had been killed near Iwo Jima, aged 21. Oh, such a baby. Yeah. And whose life James's statements seemed to match. An exception was that Houston was shot down in a FM-2 Wildcat, not a Corsair plane. Veterans could recall no Corsairs on Natoma Bay, nor could the details of James's account of the plane being shot down be confirmed. However, a visit to Houston's sister, Anne Barone, uncovered a photograph of Houston standing in front of the Corsair, confirming that at one time he did fly this aircraft. Clinching testimony came from eyewitnesses who had seen the plane was hit in the engine, which exploded in a ball of fire before it crashed, confirming James's account. A unique logbook recording the crash could now be viewed online. Upon attending a reunion of the Natoma Bay pilots, James recognized one of them, Bob Greenwalt, by his voice. Anne Barone also verified other details James had made earlier about his previous family, including the problems caused by his father's alcoholism. After speaking with James, she became convinced that he was indeed her brother reborn. From his knowledge of facts known only to Houston, such as the existence of a painting by their mother of Anne when she was a child. Wow, I know.
That's impressive.
I know. According to the Lenningers, James suffered a nightmare on the anniversary of Houston's death. He made statements about two memories of the period between incarnations. First, he said he remembered choosing Bruce and Andrea Lenninga as his parents. So you chose me, Emma. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Including correct details of the time prior to his conception, including correct details of a hotel on Hawaii they had been staying at during a vacation. So the boy knew about his conception while they were staying in a hotel in Hawaii.
That's weird.
Yeah,
That's freaky.
That is kind of freaky.
Actually, it makes me want to vomit.
I know, because you don't want to know that about your parents.
Not really.
Second, when his parents asked him why he had named his 3 G.I. Joe dolls, Billy, Walter, and Leon, he answered, because that's who met me when I got to heaven. So the parents later learned that 3 squadron mates of Houston who had been killed prior to his own death had been named Billy Peeler, Walter Devlin, and Leon Connor. James talked incessantly about his plane crashing, and he was disturbed by nightmares a few times a week. His desperate mother contacted past life therapist Carol Bowman for help. Bowman told Andrea not to dismiss what James was saying and to assure him that whatever happened had occurred in another life and body, and he was safe now. Andrea followed her advice, and James's dreams diminished. His parents co-authored Soul Survivor, a 2009 book about their family story.
Interesting.
Might need to purchase that one. Professor French, who was familiar with Dr. Tucker's work, says the main problem with his investigating is that the research typically begins long after the child has been accepted as a genuine reincarnation by his or her family and friends. About James, French says, although his parents insisted they never watched World War II documentaries or talked about military history, we do know that at 18 months of age, James was taken to a flight museum where he was fascinated by the World War II airplanes. In one probability, the additional details were unintentionally implanted by his parents and by a counselor who was a firm believer in reincarnation. Well, that doctor was just pooping in his cornflakes. Way to be a no funner. Sorry, forgot. Forgot we were recording. Dr. Tucker says that he has additional documentation for many of James Lenninger's statements and that they were made before anyone in the family had heard of James Houston or USS Natoma Bay. French responds that children's utterances are often ambiguous and open to interpretation. For example, perhaps James said something that sounded a bit like Natoma. I think he's just being a poo-poo.
I think so too.
Party pooper. So Bruce Lenninger, James's father, understands French's disbelief. I was the original skeptic, he says. But the information James gave us was so striking and unusual. If someone wants to look at the facts and challenge them, they're welcome to examine everything we have. Bruce laughs at the idea that he and his wife planted the memory, saying, you try telling a 2-year-old what to believe. You're not going to be able to give them a script. And that's all. I don't know when this was even written or...
So mine is from a TV show called The Ghost Inside My Child, and I was obsessed with the show. It's not on anymore, but it's just every segment is a different child.
Like an exorcist?
No.
Oh.
I literally just said what it was, and you talked over me saying it's an exorcist.
Well, my mind was already
It's about past lives.
Okay.
Kids' past lives. That's what it's about.
Okay.
So you can actually watch it, I think all of them. If you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it on there. But...
Do I have that? I have that.
You have Amazon Prime, yes.
Yeah.
Well, You could watch all these episodes.
Okay.
So this takes place in Madison, Wisconsin, about a little boy named Jamie. Jamie was described as a great baby. He was always happy and had a great attention span for learning new things. Overall, an easy kid. It was said that with some words, he had an English accent at times, just some random words, but he also had a speech impediment for a little bit. So the family believed it was maybe... Mom, stop laughing. Why are you laughing?
Why
I know why you're laughing, and I don't want to say anything because...
Okay.
But now it makes me sound... I always have to explain myself because now it makes me sound bad. Okay, when I was younger... I'm not making fun of people with speech impediments, okay? My mom knew somebody, and I really liked her, okay? I thought she was really cool. And I went to my mom one day, I'm like, man, I wonder where she's from because I love her accent. Like, her English accent was so cool. And my mom goes, Emma, she's not English. She has a speech impediment. But she sounded like she had an accent. I was so embarrassed, but I'm so glad I didn't go up to her and tell her that day.
But in your defense, our family line is really thick in accents from Polish to English to Irish.
Yeah, my grandma was born in England. Yes. She had an English accent at weird times. Like, she said some, like, she always called me, like, she couldn't say Emma a lot, so my grandma always called me Emmer. So anyway, that's where this was coming from. So the family believed it was maybe an effect from that. And Jamie would use unique terms for things and sayings that aren't modern at the time. But again, just a quick smart kid, okay? Jamie had an older sister who was 17 years older than him. And so when the sister went off to college, that's when these strange things began to happen that they noticed. So the family had a swimming pool, because everyone loved to swim in the family, but Jamie would never go past the stairs of the pool. Even if his mom would try to take him with her in the pool, he would just start panicking and just begging her to take him back to the shallow part. And to Jamie's sister, she said that Jamie, to her knowledge, Jamie never had a negative experience with water, so it was odd because literally the whole family was like, we got a pool because we all love swimming, and he hated it. Like, he would just start panicking. Jamie was about 3 or 4. He was starting to learn how to ride a bike. And Jamie started talking about how he saw their mom riding her blue bike down the same road. So the sister asked, did you see a photo of their mom with this blue bike? Or how do you even know this? And Jamie said, no, I looked down from a window and saw her riding this blue bike. And Jamie's mom said she did have a blue bike, and that was when she was 5 years old. But she never mentioned it to him, nor to her knowledge even had a photo of it. But Jamie's like, no, she had a blue bike, and I saw you. Like, it was very specific, but he was like, okay, how did you even know this? So the mom asked Jamie how he knew this, and again, he said he watched her. And when she asked him to clarify what that meant exactly, he said, well, Mom, there are windows in heaven. So when Jamie was 4 or 5, he started having nightmares. And that seems to be a very common thing you hear. It's just the nightmares that keep on happening. And he'd go to bed, and then he would just start running. He wouldn't look at anyone. He just looked like he was trying to find a way out, and he was panicked. He was sleepwalking, like running. And Jamie's parents took him to a doctor to talk about how Jamie might be sleepwalking. But the family was concerned because it was terrifying. Like, he was panicking, trying to find a way out of this house. And so the nightmares continued, and the family was advised to not wake him up, which is a very common thing. They say don't wake up people that are sleepwalking. I don't know why. Why are you not allowed to wake up people that are sleepwalking? Is it just dangerous, or?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I've heard that.
Yeah, I've heard that. It's very common. Like, you don't wake up someone that's sleepwalking.
Which, to me, the first thing when somebody's walking in your hall and standing over your bed, you'd say, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
Yeah, and your response is waking them up.
Right. But they say don't do that, and I don't know why. If someone knows why, let us know. That'd be interesting. I would like to know why. But anyway, so the nightmares continued. Family can't wake him up, but every single night, this is how stressful this was for him, Mom.
Okay.
His pajamas were soaked with sweat every single night because he was panicking that much. He just kept talking about how he's drowning and he was just soaked. Okay. So one night, Jamie's parents went out and they left him with a babysitter. When they got back, they were kind of pissed off at the babysitter because they saw him watching the last half of the movie Titanic, which he has an extreme fear of water. Yeah. And they were like, why would you let him even watch this? Because you will know what happens at the end of Titanic. It sinks and there's water. And after that, Jamie just kept drawing pictures of the Titanic. And after 2 weeks, Jamie drew approximately 50 pictures of the Titanic. At first, the family thought it was just because he watched the movie, but Jamie was obsessed with drawing this ship. The strange part of the drawings were the details of them. Jamie knew the ship, where every window or room was located, something that he wouldn't have gotten from the movie. And if you've seen the movie, the Titanic is about a love story, but Jamie wasn't interested in the storyline. But he was distraught when the people in the boiler room died first because they were trapped. Like, that would just get him so much. But, like, he didn't care about what the main... It's such a long movie. You know, it's about these two people that weren't actually real. But so Jamie started talking about the accident itself and the mistakes that were made while building. How the men in the boiler room should have never been trapped. He would cry about it. Like, he would be just so heartbroken. He would just get so worked up, start crying about it and saying it shouldn't have happened. And he almost acted like he was responsible for the accident. And Jamie was 5, telling his mom that they used iron instead of steel, and that was wrong, and the emergency doors trapped everyone in the boiler room when it hit the iceberg. He was 5. So the family talked with the idea of maybe it being a past life. It said, I don't know about his dad, but the mom was like really into reincarnation and was very open to the idea. So she was like, maybe this must be a past life of his, and whether he was on the ship or he helped build the ship. Jamie got a computer game of the Titanic, which... we had this same game, and it was kind of scary. It's like really the butler would just like pop out of nowhere and scare you. Anyways, so Jamie's playing this game with his sister. So the point of the game, if you don't know, just quick, you're a passenger on the Titanic looking for clues to not sink the ship. But the main point of the whole game is like you run around the ship forever, like, because it's so big, and they're like, that's kind of the point. Like, you're running around looking for clues. It's timed. It's, you know, it's kind of a little stressful because obviously you're trying to find ways to not sink the ship.
But the rooms in the game were very beautiful.
Yes, no, it was very nice.
They remade what the Titanic would have looked like.
Yeah, no, it was very detailed. That was
kind of neat,
especially for that time.
Yeah.
You know, it was an early computer game. So Jamie knew exactly where to go. No wrong turns.
I wonder if he knew where Jack and Rose learned how to hock loogies over the edge. And like in the movie.
Shut it down, Mom.
There was a specific spot.
Okay.
They stood. I wonder if you knew that.
Well, Jack and Rose weren't real.
I know, but they might have been.
All right. Well, anyway. This is his first time playing this game. So his sister, who, again, this is a lot older. This is really playing with, I mean, I guess if you have a really big age gap, you understand. I don't, so it's different. You know, you're an adult looking at a kid.
Right.
You're playing the game, and they're telling you, no, that's the wrong way. No, you're not going the wrong way. That's the wrong way. Right, no, turn left. They'd be like, okay, it's a game. How do you know? But he was right the entire time. And I think that's really just kind of opened their eyes. Like, no, this is different. After years of his obsession, the family, after much research, thought that Jamie might have been one of the designers of the Titanic named Thomas Andrews. And Thomas Andrews designed several ships, and the knowledge that Jamie had matched up with Thomas's. On the tragic night of the Titanic sinking, so I guess like on their first voyage, Thomas would always go on the ship. Well, this was Titanic's first voyage, so Thomas was on the boat. Thomas decided not to get on the lifeboat and instead decided to go down with the ship. He was the chief designer, and he actually fought with J.P. Morgan, who financed the Titanic. And Thomas argued with him that the Titanic didn't have enough lifeboats and the construction was rushed. And so he was very upset with how J.P. Morgan was financing it. They said, no, you need more time. Thomas also wanted to use steel instead of iron to build the Titanic. So that's all about Thomas Andrews, which is very much what Jamie's been saying. And there was a Titanic exhibit that was traveling around at the time, which we've been to. Yeah, I was like 1, so I don't even remember it.
I think I sunk my card. I didn't survive.
I'm sorry, Mom. And the family bought tickets so that Jamie could go. And to them, they thought maybe this would be closure for him, you know? So he looked at everything in detail. He was shaking the whole time. It wasn't a great experience. So it was kind of the opposite effect that they thought, which I can't blame the family. I think to them, they're like, well, if he's so obsessed with it, might as well take him to it. Maybe that would help him. After they went to the exhibit, Jamie had another nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
So while Jamie was sleeping, his mom was hearing a rhythmic banging sound on his wall. So she jumped up, ran into his room, and Jamie was on all fours and just staring at the floor, convulsing. And he just started screaming, "She's going down." And it was the most terrifying thing. She said his scream sounded like a man, not like a little boy. She says he can't recreate that scream. But slowly, Jamie stopped talking about the Titanic. Like, he talked about it for, this is a big obsession every single day.
Uh-huh.
And then it was like once a week. And then once every 2 weeks. And then slowly he stopped. So he doesn't talk about the Titanic anymore. And then almost like the nightmare from that night that the Titanic was sinking, that's what ended it. So he had all these dreams about like he was drowning, all that kind of stuff. And then he actually had a dream about the night. And just like, she's going down, that's never happened before. But that was like what ended it. Like, he had to almost like get to that step to stop having it.
Uh-huh.
That's it.
So reincarnation can be just a fleeting moment of your life, and then you're back to
who you are.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So there's a good chance, like, maybe if I was talking more, if I knew who I was, but maybe by the time I started talking, I didn't remember. But
when we go to the library, the older two would be so like, I'm getting this book, look at this book, this has got how many chapters, and get so excited about how thick their book was, and I'm going to finish this tomorrow. Not Emma. Emma, you do like to read. You just your joy of reading came a little bit later because you were too fascinated with the cassettes at that time, and you would check out cassettes, not books. And it would be Broadway musicals that were really strange that you would, and musicals that I never in my 59, I'm 59. I haven't even heard of some of these musicals, and you would know them as a little toddler, and you would want to check it out. And even the librarian's like, oh, you're listening to some really good music, and it's like, it's not mine, it's my little 2-year-old. So yeah, you were a weird kid, but getting back to your story, all those experiences are very weird.
And it is kind of interesting, too, because I don't know if we always connect heaven with reincarnation. Mm-hmm. You always think of them very separately, but both of our stories that we had today, they were both in heaven. Yeah. And they got to choose their family. And
I like the concept. So if I was inclined to change a belief of mine, I like the concept of a heaven where you're looking down through a window and then you could be reincarnated. But I also like the concept of for a short period of time, and then you go on to make your own life experience. Yeah, I like that. Because I don't like the whole haunting of it. I don't know.
Something to think about.
It is something to think about. Things that make you go, All
right, well, thank you for being here today, Mom.
Well, you're so welcome. I'm awake now. Should we start?
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. As always, feel free to share with your friends. I think this is going to be an interesting episode, a long episode.
Oh, what time is it? Oh, you better get to work, young lady.
No, Mom.
I'm going shopping for yarn.
Surprise, surprise.
I know.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Okay.
All right.
Toodles.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, you're like, okay. I'll see you next time.
Okay, toodles. It's 12:02.
Who says toodles?
Oh, toodles. Okay. Mickey Mouse.
You can tell your grandma.
I know. Hot dog, hot diggity dog.